We're going to be making a seahorse today, and we're going to put it in the seaweed, and we're going to start off by finding a placement, and that's real important. So you want to think about your seahorse, your body, and then think about your edges of your page here. And we're going to start off with the eye, so we want to make sure we have a little bit of room near the top, and then we want to place it in an area that's interesting. Now we could place it right in the very center with the eye just a little bit above the center, but I kind of like to place things a little bit off center. And so I'm going to go, here's my middle of the page. I'm going to just jump up a little diagonally, and that's where I'll start my eye from. So I'm going to go down about 2-3 inches from the top of the page here. And I'll start with my circle for my pupil. And I'm going to color that in right here. And once you have your pupil colored in, then we're going to make a circle for a donut. Now this is not a very big circle here, this pupil. You can see compared to my finger. It's about 1/4 of an inch. And so we do a circle for a donut, and then I'm going to put some design, just some lines in that are radiating out from the center point for the seahorse eyes. Now I'm going to double line this real thin, just real close. Mostly on the top area, and then just the same line at the bottom, just to give more eye detail. I like to put a lot of detail in the eyes, and sometimes I even make the eyes a little bit bigger, just to emphasize that importance of the eye. From there, we're going to just put a little straight line above as a mark, and then we're going to drop down, not completely, not to the bottom of the eye. And then we're going to go out for the seahorse nose, only about 1 inch or so. If you measure the first area of your finger, just about that far, the first knuckle to the very first knuckle. And then we're going to go down about 1/2 inch, probably almost as wide as your finger. And then we're going to bring it back up, so it forms almost a little rectangle right in here. And then we're going to just follow the slope of the eye, how it curves down. I'm going to curve around, equal distance around here. From here, I'm going to continue around, but don't connect it to this area. We're just going to come down and around, starting to form the back of the seahorse. And we'll come down probably about 3 more inches before we start our tail, swooping around. And for the tail, you can have the tail attached to anything. It can come down, curve round, it can come down straight and flip back. But for this part, I'm just going to have them come up, around, just make a curly Q like that. Find this curve that's directly under the eye, and I'm going to find the center of this, and I'm going to drop down a little bit, and then I'm going to come out with a little belly, a little swell. Then I'm going to bring it back to the tail. And the tail I want to keep about as thick as my finger. So now I'm going to come around, and I'm going to keep this line as thick as my finger. So if you want to measure as you go along. And then as we make our curve, I'm going to slowly get a little bit skinnier because the tail tapers to a skinny end here. Now I have the basic shape of the body done. Now I'm going to work up my details. And the details are what make the picture more interesting. I'm going to bring in some of these fins in the back. I'm going to come out and flare up. I'm going to skip a few fingers, about 2, out, flare down. And then I'm going to give it a little bit of a kind of a wiggle line on the end, a zigzaggy line on the end, just to give a little bit of texture. And then I'm going to put some lines in for detail right in here. And these are neatly drawn, just to show that there's wrinkles and ripples in these fins. I'm going to do the same for the side in here. Toward the back of his head, I'll put a fin here, curve out, give a little ripple, put a little fin here. And then I'm going to put some texture some groups of lines in here. And then I'll put some texture in here too. Just some lines for detail. I'm going to do a nostril, so I'm just going to skip over about 1/4 inch and come down. I'm not going to get down all the way, and then I'm going to do a little black space right in here. And that's basically, if you want to put a little bit more detail in this area, and then you can get little freeform shapes like for texture. If you want to put some, these are freeform. This would be an oval, circle, but then freeform makes it more natural. Just some for texture. So freeform is a lot better. And when you do the edges, come off your edge, freeform, bring back to the edge. Come off your edge. You want to have a little bit of all those shapes. I'm going to keep his belly kind of free of those kind of shapes. It just adds to something more interesting. If you want to put a little bit of top here, you can make a little texture on the top. And freeform shape in here. And so when you color this in, you can make these a different value. These freeform shapes can be a different type of value, darker or lighter. And fill it all in. And then you could go ahead and add the different kinds of, if he's in kelp or he's attached to some seaweed. And I'm going behind. And I'm making some seaweed long. And I'm going behind this. So it looks like he's wrapped around it. And then I'm going to make some seaweed coming over this way, shorter. And then having some come up in here. So I'm overlapping, having some seaweed kind of blowing in the water, or moving in the water, and making some very short. So I'm varying the heights for variation of my seaweed. And then you can add anything else you want. You want other fish, maybe you want another seahorse over here, another one here, maybe some tiny babies. So you could decorate, and you could even add texture in their seaweed too. Some lines like this. I like having the lines go space and then leave a little space, not even meeting, not even showing, how they give a little gap here to show its movement. Leave some space here. And there, you can finish it the way you want it. And that's our seahorse.